Before I begin, apparently we're under a tornado warning in this area. So if you see my home get destroyed halfway through the video, if you see like the roof collapse on me, please don't take that as a point against the message of the video, like the gods have chosen to smite me halfway through it for saying what I'm saying. It's just whether, if that happens, I'll finish the video some other time and just edit it together. If I were to start a new religion, or, let's be honest, a cult, I would have one guiding principle I would ask everyone to follow, because I would assume that things like be nice to each other are things you've pretty much already got down. But if there is one guiding principle that I don't feel like is conveyed well enough in modern society, or that enough people have absorbed, it would be this. To have any chance in life, in any area of life, you have to make yourself valuable to other people. I know that can sound like a simplistic bumper sticker slogan, just like the rest of the advice you get from people like me, but allow me to explain, because I really think most people don't get this. I got an odd piece of advice years ago that I never forgot. I don't remember who gave me the advice, so I forgot the person, but I did not forget the advice, which was, if you've got a friend who's depressed, not clinically depressed, but they're just down, they're going through a rough patch, they just, they kind of can't see the point of anything anymore. If nothing else seems to work, if you've tried cheering them up or tried saying, hey, it could be worse, and all the stuff that we try that rarely helps, try flipping it around and going to them and asking them for a favor, asking them for help doing something. And what they said is that you'll be surprised how well this works, or conversely, if you're the depressed one, try finding someone who needs help doing anything, help moving, anything that they need assistance with, and go do it. And you'll be surprised at how well that works in terms of kind of getting you out of your funk, out of your rut. Because you are programmed by biology to want to feel needed, to want to feel valuable. I don't feel like describing this as a biological imperative is that weird of a thing to say. Humans dominate the globe because we are better than other species at organizing. We form societies and cities and countries and nations millions strong. When's the last time you've seen 5,000 wombats get together and build something? Probably never. But humans are able to function in large groups. Our brains are very good at, organizing ourselves into groups to accomplish things together. But it stands to reason, if that was our strength, then due to evolution, the humans who survived and passed on their genes were the ones that were really good at functioning in a tribe. So if you have that impulse back then to want to be, helpful to the tribe, to have an impulse to contribute, then you passed on your genes, and if you did not have that, then no one would have sex with you. So as a result, you have biological buttons inside you that need to be pushed, and that button is you need to feel like you are contributing something. The problem is, in the modern world, and the system and the economy, the way it's set up now, it's very easy to get into a situation where either you're not contributing anything substantial, or at least it's not made apparent to you how you're contributing. For example, how many of you have a job where you really come home every day satisfied, like I have helped people, or I have built something, or you really see the result of the work, as opposed to just being, 8 or 10 hours that have been stolen from your life just so you could pay rent, where you have to begrudgingly clock in so that you can do the things that you really want to do. Likewise, the way we socialize now, it's a lot of social media, it's a lot of more loose connections versus the personal connections where you can constantly be doing things like helping somebody move or helping nurse them back to health when they get sick. It becomes this less tangible thing where you're not contributing as much to their life, because after all, if you're one of somebody's 900 friends on Instagram, that's not the same level of connection, and if you disappear, you're one of 900 friends. They wouldn't necessarily miss you so much. And in fact, speaking of social media, the way it functions is almost proof of what I'm saying, because they've built in all of this functionality, like the lights and the point system and all that, to make you feel needed, to make you feel important. But I feel like to some degree that is an artificial feeling. I think to truly feel like you're contributing, to truly feel like you are valuable to other people, the only way to do it is to actually make yourself valuable to other people. I would even say if you don't have that, if you don't have that baseline of confidence that you are valuable and that you're contributing something, that actually makes you vulnerable to a lot of like sales pitches from either advertisers or even something like, a cult or a hate group, where they're going to try to play on that thing that's missing in your life. They're going to try to come to you and say dishonestly, like, hey, come join us. You'll be a member of the team. You'll be a member of the elite. Come believe this conspiracy theory. You'll be, one of the few people that know the truth. And the thing they're trying to appeal to is that may be the only time in your life you feel like you're doing anything special, like you're really contributing to anything. And they know that in some ways makes you vulnerable. People can get into bad relationships this way. It can cause all sorts of problems. So my guiding principle is, if you want to fix your life, if you want to fix how you feel, if you want to fix, your lack of motivation, it starts by, instead of getting into that kind of myopic view of, thinking about what you're missing and how you've been screwed over by society or what you don't have, instead try to flip your point of view around to realize, oh, I'm surrounded by people who also need things. I'm surrounded by people who desperately have needs that they need filled. What can I do to become the type of person who can fill those needs? Once you do that, I believe your own situation can fall into place, because the world, society, friends, romantic partners, they tend to treat you differently if they perceive that you're the type of person who is valuable and who can do things. Let me give you some specific examples. Let's start just with your personal life. There's people out there who don't have friends or they don't have romantic partners. Like you talk about like incels, guys who've become very bitter and hateful because they can't get a girlfriend. And they've got this whole worldview of how unfair it is that they've been rejected based on these arbitrary rules society has about who's attractive or who people want to be around. And same thing for people who don't really have a friend group. You can go to a very dark place where it's like, society has rejected me for no reason. Like, why can't people just accept me for me? What is difficult to do in that situation is to turn it around and say, okay, what would I bring to a friendship? What would I bring to a relationship? What's different about me? What's unique about me? What talents do I have? What skills do I have? Am I a good cook? Am I a good storyteller? Do I have tons of interesting stories and experiences that I can tell? Am I funny? Am I a well of useful information? What can I do that makes me interesting, that makes me stand out? Now, I realize there's a very cynical version of this out there among like pickup artists, that kind of thing, where it's like, well, all women want are guys that have a lot of money or they have a nice car or whatever, because they're all gold diggers or they're selfish. That's a very cynical and unfair way to put it. The truth is, everyone has needs that they need filled. Everyone. And everyone treats other people differently based on how they can fill those needs. There's a reason why you can have some guy who makes a lot of money who still doesn't have, a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and then this other guy who is actually broke, but he can play the guitar and is surrounded by friends and girlfriends. Just being able to play music gives that person the status and the feeling of, hey, this is somebody who can contribute something. They have a talent. They're good at something. It can be anything like that. If you wind up in a relationship of any kind, a friendship, where you've got or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, where you're not really contributing anything, and most people automatically, their mind goes to a case where, the girlfriend has a job but the boyfriend doesn't, and they're just staying home, or vice versa. But it doesn't have to be just that. Any situation where they're not contributing something, emotionally, financially, something, I feel like it is a matter of time until that blows up. Because even if the other person doesn't mind, even if they're with you just because they want someone to be around or they felt sorry for you or whatever, you will know you're not contributing anything and it will come through. Because that's what I'm trying to convey here, is that it helps you in two ways. It's both in the way the world treats you and also the way you think of yourself. And people who are confident, people who walk around like they own the place, it's usually because they get that daily feedback that, hey, you're needed. Now, in terms of your career, this one should be obvious. But I say should be obvious, it wasn't to me for a long time. If you had went back to high school and asked me, like, what's your dream job? I would have said, well, my dream job is where I go to work for some giant company and I don't actually have to do anything, but I get like a huge paycheck. Like I just get paid to do nothing, and then I can just go pursue my hobbies and have fun in my spare time. I now know that if you ever found yourself in that situation, and you actually might, where you're kind of getting paid to do something that doesn't really need to be done, the time is ticking down until you lose that job, because somebody in that company is going to recognize this person's not contributing anything, that we're not actually getting anything out of them, and so you're actually in a very precarious position. Your whole career works that way. If the thing you're doing, the task you're doing, is something that could either be done by someone much less qualified or could be done by a machine in a couple of years, you're in trouble. Because you've put yourself in a position where, in the company's eyes, you're not really contributing anything that someone else couldn't. Now, your rebuttal to that might be, well, that's a problem with capitalism. Like, why should a company only see me in terms of what I can do for them, what economic value I can provide for them? Why shouldn't they just say, hey, as a human being, you have a right to, a home and food and all that, so we're going to give you a paycheck just as a human being. But I would argue, even if you found yourself in a society where money didn't exist, even if you found yourself in the Star Trek universe where they're in post-scarcity and everybody has everything they need, you're still going to be judged by what you can contribute. If you go and live on a commune where they don't believe in like physical possessions, the person who has more knowledge about building or farming or music or entertainment or whatever is still going to have a more valued position in the organization than someone who can't do those things. It is just human nature that you're going to treat someone differently based on what they can provide. This is why attractive people will always have an advantage. It's unfair. I didn't say it was fair. But because they're providing something that other people need, they're going to get treated as such. And you can pretend otherwise, but ultimately, when you examine how you behave and how you treat other people, generally you're going to find that you favor people who can do things for you in return. And I can imagine people objecting to this because that makes it sound like it's this very cold and cynical worldview where all relationships are purely transactional and everybody just wants to know, like, well, what do you have to bring to the table? But keep in mind, some of these needs are purely emotional. Your ability to read people, your ability to counsel someone who's going through crisis, your ability to talk to someone, to share your feelings, to make them comfortable talking to you. Those are also skills. They're things that have to be practiced and learned. And in fact, the modern world actually makes it harder to practice people's skills. If you can do it, you'll be rare, because the way we've set up society now, you can do so many things without ever talking face to face with a person. Just if you think about 30 years ago, the amount of face-to-face interaction it used to take just to buy something, or to shop for things, or to sell something, or to do your job, so much of that has been replaced with things that can be accomplished over email or through just a form on the computer or through a kiosk, that those chances for everyday interaction, where you have to talk to someone, maybe you've got a complaint and you've got to try to convince them to help you. Those opportunities don't come up nearly as often, but you need practice. So that's also a skill. You would just think of it as being like a good guy or a good, a nice person, but being a nice person also takes practice. It's a learned skill, and a lot of people these days don't have it. And then finally, even if you want to ignore everything about your career, everything about your personal growth, just think in terms of a purely unselfish view of your position in society. If your goal, like say you don't care about your career, but you want to be an activist, you want to achieve social justice or fix the environment. Well, if you join some movement like that, the exact same rule is going to apply. How effective you are at helping them get the environment cleaned up or whatever is going to come down to what skills you can bring to that organization. Are you good at talking to people? Are you good at organizing? You know, you think of any group, whether it's a church or a charity or a lobbyist group, they need people who are good at computers, who are good salespeople, who are good at working the phones, you know, networking, all this stuff you think of as like, you know, like crass things that only, you know, stockbrokers and rich people care about, like working a room and getting to know who the powerful people are. You don't think that like an environmentalist group trying to lobby Washington for new regulations, you don't think they need that? You don't think they need people with sales skills, people skills, every kind of skill? You don't think a protest group needs somebody that knows how to fix a car or to program their computer? No matter where you go, even if it's the most pure, unselfish organization where you're purely just trying to make the world better, it's going to be the same thing. You're better off if you wake up every day saying, okay, what does this group need? What are they lacking? And then thinking, how can I become that person? How can I learn the skill that they need? Instead of thinking of it in terms of, here's a thing I can do because I need a thing to do, think outwardly, like how can I make myself into the type of person they need? So now if you say, okay, but what does this look like day to day? What specifically are you asking me to do? I've decided I want to join your cult, Jason, so what is it you're asking of me? The big thing is looking at how you're spending your time, all of your time, including your time at work, and saying, is this actually teaching me new things, new skills, new experiences, making me a better person, making me someone who's more valuable to other people? Or is it not? And especially now in the current situation, the economy the way it is now, we're so heavily reliant on, you know, retail work, gig work, that sort of thing. And then with, you know, we're in a pandemic, you've got 30 million people out of work in the United States. It's very easy to find yourself on a treadmill where you're forced to take a job purely to pay the rent this month. But the key is that at some point you have to say, well, look, I don't still want to be on this treadmill 20 years from now. So whatever time you can find in your spare time, whatever you could do on the side, learning something, whatever it is, another language, how to code, how to fix a car, looking at something you don't currently know how to do, but it seems like you could do, or maybe you would have an aptitude for, and doing that in some of your spare time. I'm not going to play like the cranky boomer and say, well, you need to put down the video games and go learn Latin. You need to turn off the Fortnite machine, young man, and go learn math. I'm not saying that. You're going to have some things you do for fun in your spare time. I'm just saying that you should have some time you're devoting every week or every day or whatever to learning something, you know, that you have some aptitude for, whether it's another language, or how to repair a car, or how to fix stuff around the house. These days with YouTube, you can get a tutorial on anything. Learn to cook, learn something all the time. If you are laid off, use that time. Get on YouTube, look up how to, you know, something that doesn't require very expensive materials. Try to learn how to do it. And just put yourself in a mindset where you're always adding to the things you know how to do. And in my experience, whether or not that leads to another career down the line, or it may very well, I'll get to that in a moment, I feel like a lot of your anxiety, your depression may, this is not medical advice, this is from personal experience, you may find it getting a lot better because you're waking up every day with a goal in mind and something to look forward to, and you're able to look at the progress you've made and say, wow, the thing I'm making now, the pottery I'm making now or whatever looks so much better than what I was making 6 months ago. That sense of that you're always improving, always getting better, always getting smarter, always getting more valuable, and having a skill that you can like show off to people, like, hey, didn't you know I bake my own bread? Look at it. When you see how impressed people are by that, and how differently they treat you when you've got like a talent or a skill you can show off, it can make all the difference in the world. And especially when you look out your window or you look on TV and it seems like everything is slowly falling apart and slowly getting worse, to be constantly making yourself a little bit better can kind of counteract that feeling, in my experience. My personal story, the reason I'm so hung up on this is that I went to college for journalism. Since then, that was in the mid-90s. Since then, I've had 2 different careers completely fall apart on me. But I'm doing okay because I now write books for a living, and I started doing that in my spare time. There was a point where I had a full-time job and another part-time job and was writing books on the side, or rather I was learning to write books on the side. I had no education on the subject. I had no training. I had no anything. I was teaching myself how to do it. I spent a decade writing for basically no pay, just as a hobby, but getting my thousands of hours of practice in so that when everything else fell apart, I was actually in a position where I could go out and write books for a living. A lot of people have their current jobs, especially people who are happy in their jobs, because they did that. The people who work, they have a job in computers or whatever, it's something they did as a hobby. They did the coding in their spare time, in many cases. So this could be a parachute for you later on in life. But even if not, I honestly feel like just that process of really trying to use your time that way, trying to always get better at something or learn something, you will find that feeling like you have become a more valuable person or a more capable person will push a button in your brain that you didn't know was there and will fill a hole that you maybe didn't know was missing. Because the culture as it's set up now is very good at just kind of keeping you forever distracted and just scrolling on your phone or playing games or just things that artificially make you feel important or that give you feedback or the illusion that you are a part of a group while not really. Because I feel like you ultimately cannot fake this. You will know when you've done something that kind of makes you a more valuable person, a more valuable contributor, that makes you more interesting to other people. And it's really hard to convince yourself otherwise. That's all. Thank you for watching. The tornado did not destroy my house. Before you go, I have a new novel coming out. Here is an ad for it. Please watch the whole thing and then order it. Thank you.
You know how sometimes you wake up naked and hungover on a friend's trampoline with only fuzzy memories of how you got there? Well, imagine all of civilization did that at once.
Friday, a local man equipped with an implanted groin enhancement lit up the dance floor, but probably not the way he intended. 8 bystanders.
That's the future. The aftermath of bad decisions everyone regrets but would definitely make again. Now imagine it's the future and you're me, living in a trailer with your cat and your mom, bothering nobody. Then one day you find out you've inherited $1 billion from a scumbag biological father you barely knew. The bad news is, you find out he made that money by committing many, many crimes. In fact, most of the things he did that weren't crimes were only legal because no one had thought to make them crimes yet. Like selling black market technology that supposedly gives people superpowers.
Lookers watched in horror as a man calling himself Lord Rocket collided in midair with a flock of geese. Police say the woman...
So now you're in charge of your father's inner circle, a team of con artists who use creepy psychological warfare tricks to secretly run everything behind the scenes. You now have no choice but to work with them, all of you trying to keep a horde of superhuman morons from tearing the city apart. Now imagine that an author wrote all of these events into an award-winning book series. Only you don't have to imagine that part, because it actually happened. The first book was called Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits. It drew glowing praise from the New York Times, and Publishers Weekly called it subtly brilliant, which is impressive for a book that contained 36 instances of the word but. And then imagine that for some reason no one stopped David Wong from writing a second book in the series called Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick, which is available for pre-order now pretty much anywhere books are sold. David Wong, aka Jason Pargin, is also the author of the best-selling John Dies at the End series. That one got turned into a movie. So ask your bookstore for Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick by David Wong, or go to futuristicviolence.com.